Hey folks, how are you? Phil Davis, Ancestrylands, ancestrylands.com. We're going to get to it today. You know who you're rocking with, folks? Happy Tuesday, folks.
You're now listening to
Telio Contos.
You're live with Uncle Phil, live after lunch, folks. How are you? Happy Tuesday, folks. Happy Tuesday. Wow, folks. We're closing out the month now. It's February 28th, right? Hopefully everybody on the East Coast, you've had your lunch, you've been full. You've got you're in your office, or folks, you're finding a quiet place to actually, or you gotta digesting your meals, folks. We got to talk to you about this today. If you just finished lunch, find a happy place or a place where no one can smell you from farting out the gas from your meal. If people on the West Coast dealing with the snow, thank you to people who've checked in with my wife. Shout out to Aunt Terry, who has watched the show. I appreciate the family on the West Coast supporting the show. Appreciate you, Aunt Terry. I'm glad you like what I'm doing here. I appreciate it. Folks, we've got a lot of news today. Our main story, we're going to talk about a few things. Actually, we're going to talk about Popeye's biscuits. They say love that chicken from Popeyes, but in the biscuits, the hidden secret. A woman drives her SUV through the Popeyes building because she was missing some biscuits. Lord have mercy, folks. Is it like seriously?
Serious?
No, I'm dead serious. A woman, they calling it the buttermilk biscuit ballistic disaster. Yes, folks. She did not receive any biscuits in her meal, and instead of driving through the drive-through, she said, "I'm gonna run through this building." I don't mean to laugh, folks, but it's the things that are going on in today's society. I mean, you could simply just go drive around in the Popeyes and go get you some biscuits again. She said, let me make sure I have my sensor on because I'm about to get to it, folks. She said, oh, no, they done got me up in here. They don't have my Popeyes biscuits in my meal. So I'm gonna have to go through and take this SUV and drive through the building right now and tear some right now because they ain't giving me my biscuit, allegedly. I'm going to come to you here, folks. I've got this story I'm going to share with you right now. Oh, man. I don't want to laugh if anyone was injured at the Popeyes restaurant. Lord knows that people were probably eating one of the meal too. Just think about it. You're going into Popeyes. You're like, man, I've gotten off a long day of work. Baby, what do you want? Right. And she's over there looking at you like, retard. Right, exactly. And then you're asking her what orders, and you're at the same time, when you're trying to get your order for Popeyes, you're thinking about biscuits. Damn it, if another woman ain't taking a whole SUV through the building because she couldn't get no biscuits. The drive-through, I guess, was packed, folks. I'm going to share with you this story now. This is the woman here, allegedly the perpetrator, Miss Belinda Miller. Yes, folks, we are going to take it out Tuesdays right now. We're going to bring you different stories and things like this. This comes from blackenterprise.com. Woman allegedly crashes her SUV into Popeyes because she didn't receive any biscuits, folks. Buttermilk biscuit ballistic. Say that 3 times. BBB. Woman crashes her SUV into Popeyes because she didn't receive any biscuits. Did she ask for biscuits, or she was upset because her order was missing biscuits? So allegedly, she drove her SUV into the Popeyes building. Say it ain't so. Belinda H. Miller. This is according to WJBF. Belinda H. Miller of Augusta, Georgia, allegedly drove or crashed her SUV through the wall of a Georgia's Popeyes and continued to force her SUV into the wall after the initial crash. So obviously, this again was a continued effort. Police were called to the scene at 7:45 p.m. after receiving calls about the incident and possible injuries. Thankfully, no one was hurt. We know sometimes that at Popeyes, things could get the clapping. According to WJBF, there were also reports that her order was corrected and that she was given biscuits before allegedly driving her SUV into the vehicle. So again, we're trying to figure out what is the real story here, folks. A witness who was waiting in line with Miller told them to hurry and get their order. An employee was allegedly standing near the front of the building when Miller ran her SUV into the building. Wow. She was arrested and charged with aggravated assault, first-degree criminal damage to property, and was booked at a detention center. Her bail was set at $4,000. I don't believe in here they said there were any injuries, but good Lord Almighty, people, what is it coming to today? First of all, what are in Popeye's biscuits that make you have to drive? You first of all, you're saying hurry up and get order, get my biscuits. Secondly, what are in the biscuits that makes you take a whole car, a whole SUV, and drive clear through the actual building? Didn't go through the drive-through, and they're saying that they actually got her order correct. What is the world coming to, folks? Really? What do we have to say about a person like that? I mean, what about the other patrons of the Popeyes that they were ordering biscuits too? Maybe their order got messed up. I mean, this is the way the world's going today. I mean, and thank God I don't see anything up here indicating any injuries, but apparently that didn't matter. The biscuits mattered. I think we've heard of other stories about someone in Chicago. They allegedly assaulted someone or caused them grave injury. I think they deleted the person and they stayed behind to eat the food. Were arrested on site eating the fried chicken. What is in this food that is affecting the community too much? We need an investigation. Somebody get Joe Biden up in there.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Exactly. Call Joe Biden. And speaking of Joe Biden came in today. What is this by Reuters? Yahoo News, folks. We're talking about Joe Biden again. The story is, and again, I wanted to ask a question. We voted for Joe Biden. Those who did vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he has a long history. Some things I won't get into because I don't want to hypercharge things. As an American citizen, again, he is the United States president. He is my president. He is the Republicans' president. He is the current sitting president. He is the commander in chief. Okay. But again, we have to call into question while we give respects to the office, we give respects to the president. I mean, Trump didn't get this and people are not like Trump. But again, what I will say is that as citizens of the country, the person's decisions do matter. What they say even matters more importantly. And this is what Joe Biden had to say. I mean, this is on Black History Month. Can you spit in the Black people's face any more than you actually can while feigning to be, well, he said he wasn't stupid. So here we go. Folks, Yahoo News. Joe Biden comes off and says, I'm a white boy, but not stupid on Black History Month. I mean, that's what we're getting into, huh? Racial politics, racial baiting, racial lines. And the story says that, and this is an article, Joe Biden, he says, history matters, Black history matters. Biden said to an audience of Black Congress members, no less. I mean, you go into a group of people like this and government officials, Americans can't just learn what we want to know, Biden said, but they need to learn the good, the bad, the truth, and who we are as a nation. Now, many of you may have gone back to the videos, and I get that he's saying that. That's good up in the pulpit, up in front of Black Congress. But if we go into Black schools, I would ask, as parents, as people who are, what were we going to say? People here who have children in school, teachers in school, do you actually see them teaching, even Black historical figures, Black history according to any knowledge that you've gotten? Have they talked about Lewis Latimer, who I've gone over before? Have they talked about Bass Reeves? Have they talked about any of the people that I've covered in, my previous videos, previous episodes? And I haven't seen that. I had a video that I did a few days ago where I talked about, was Grant Cardone right about what he said about the Black community, and just speaking in small terms, what he said. And the question was, in my child, they have Black History Month, and I'm going up there to see a dragon display for the Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year, according to my knowledge, is in January. But in Black History Month, the school is dedicating this whole time for them to do a terracotta warrior presentation to all these families that are clapping for them. And I asked in that actual video, okay, Joe Biden's talking about Black history and what history matters. But again, why is it always taught from the slave standpoint? I've talked about Bass Reeves. I've talked about Lewis Latimer. There is William Powell. There, what are the other people I spoke of in previous videos as well? There's Frederick McKinley Jones. There are Black people that have done a whole slew of things post-slavery that we don't even get educated about in Black history. And he's saying that Black history matters, but again, it seems like to me, and we're gonna go into what Joe Biden said a little bit more. And again, I'm not gonna just center in on Joe Biden, but again, when I look at what the politicians are talking about in the congressional meetings that get put out into the news, and I see what goes on in the schools, I don't see the same translation happening. Why is it always centered on slavery? Okay, we touch on slavery, we have slavery happen, but afterwards, Blacks or African Americans as a whole in society went on to do greater things. But what we talk about is the enslavement point. We have to always stand from that point of the slavery matters. You know, Black lives matter, but slavery is where we need to stay at and concentrate on. We don't talk about the next stage, which is, or next phase of Black history, which is after this, Blacks went on, or African Americans, whatever you want to call them, Frederick McKinley Jones, and there's so many more that I plan on covering. Bass Reeves, there are people who freed themselves. There are tons of people who did much more after slavery to advance civilization and worlds at a whole. We talked about, hi man, I'm trying to continuously talk to the show and at the same time, so forgive me if I miss things as far as in the historical figures, but we had Lewis Latimer, we had was it Frederick McKinley Jones, and again, I'm just saying again, do people even talk about these things in the history? We've had Bass Reeves, right? We talked about person here that we spoke about before. What was it? They did the security system. We talked about them before. The couple, was it Jones? The Jones family, yes. And out in Queens, they did the first video home security system. We covered that in other videos. But again, we have Biden up here pushing the same narrative. And again, if you recall back to, I believe it was William Baines Johnson. He was one of the presidents. He had, when he did the Civil Rights Act or whatever with Martin Luther King and a whole slew of other ones, he said, I'm going to put my mute thing up here because I'm not going to. He said, and this is a quote from Lyndon B. Johnson. He said, I'll have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this is not about being politically motivated or charged on any side, but he actually said that statement. And he's long gone. His policies put into place now have us continuously voting that way. And again, we're not qualifying people for our vote. And he could come up in front of Black Congress and say that. But again, are they challenging him back to seeing that, hey, you're talking about Black history, but are you talking about the Black people who've actually done stuff? Or are we going to just center in on the bad? He says they need to learn about the good, the bad, the truth, and who we are as a nation. Yes, but I see rarely Black History Month is centered on the early, again, the forefathers of the civil rights movements are not the X's, the Garveys, the Martins, the people who did it actually before. They were penetrating boundaries or cultural barriers way before, when there still was, you know, quote unquote segregation at the time. That's a missing component of history that is not talked about when it comes to Black history. They stay on all the people that you can center in on, but there's no light being shown to all the people who've actually done the work beforehand. There's not a swath of Black inventors. Hell, all our Black programming is not about actual people who've done productive things and overcome challenges in society. Most of it is about the suffering of society. And again, we're going to stay on the suffering because suffering sells. Suffering is what we get sold. What we get told is they're going to tell the truth. They're going to tell the good, the bad, and ugly. Yeah. But again, the story of overcoming and becoming better people, that you can't tell, because what would happen is our society as a whole would start looking and saying, well, if they did it, I can do it. I don't have to drive my SUV through Popeye's building like this lady allegedly did down in Georgia. I'm missing biscuits. I could walk in and ask for biscuits, or I could write to corporate and say, hey, this place is not doing very well. I could petition other Black businesses and Black people to not go to this Popeyes. We could write to the corporate office. We could do things that show that we have power through our policy and what people could really do. But what we have here is that, again, Black suffering is pushed so much that it ends up being where you got to take your SUV and drive through a god Popeyes in order to get your biscuits for an order. I mean, even though biscuits are water, flour, some sugar, salt, and yeast. But again, Popeye's biscuits are that good that it takes you to drive a whole SUV up there. And then we got the president going up here and saying, okay, well, this we got to teach, slavery. I mean, slavery happened. Yes, we need to acknowledge it again, but there is a shadowing or shadow banning of Black history that was from our forefathers, foremothers, Black women who invented things. That they've done it, and they were born in a time where segregation was still going on, and they actually achieved more while in an environment where they had less, available to them. His remarks at the White House East Room come as conservative Republicans, most notably Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Anybody that don't know, Ron DeSantis is trying to run for president, folks, and he's saying he got to change the way Black history is taught in U.S. schools. Is he right? And again, here we go. Okay, here we go. Biden. Again, we're gonna just here's you go. Do the shuffling and chuckling, the race baiting stuff. Keep us divided with white and Black people stuff. And I'm gonna show you where it goes in here. Right? It just goes into this point. You're gonna see in another story that I'm gonna bring up where even Black people doing good deeds. This kind of narrative gets pushed so much that even it will cause other races to become naturally defensive against us when we are doing well. Because the image is you're looking at people who are hateful from suffering, despite every race having suffering, despite Moors subjugating people in the Congo, despite Moors sending tons of Africans east instead of west into the Americas. Do your history, folks. Despite slavery, enslaving peoples has been done within Africa and outside of Africa and humanity as a whole. Even the Egyptians had Egyptian slaves. But we congregate on this type of slavery and we stay into the suffering. The suffering may work. Staying on your suffering may work for other people when they have economic systems and they have circulation of money, and they're doing that to peddle that they are not more powerful than what they are. I mean, I believe Kanye West has illuminated this numerous amounts of time. And what he got in return is his people telling him crazy instead of looking at the facts. And now we see that maybe old Kanye ain't so crazy. What it is that we're crazy enough to believe the selling, what we're sold on, instead of listening to one of our people telling us something different. But it's just Kanye's crazy. But Adidas needs him for them Yeezy sales, don't they? Not so crazy now. And again, we push that we always have to push the same points. He convened with families of the people that killed in hate crimes for a screening of the movie Till, about Emmett Till. Oh, you mean the same Till that the lady said that she lied about him whistling, and now the people can't even go after her? So again, there's justice I talk about, justice I act on, and justice I'm going to keep on peddling. It's like this is what the Black community is being sold all the time. We get sold. Hey, here's your slavery card. Here's your excuse card. Here, let's keep you in here. And we're like, yeah. We'll take it. How about no? How about no, Joe? How about no? They're not selling that to Asians. They're not selling that to other people. But again, we have to stay in the oppressive mindset instead of saying, yeah, I realize I've got that bad deal of cards. You know who also had a bad deal of cards? Lewis Latimer. They didn't have cell phones. He had to come up with the filament for the light bulb that we all use nowadays, and he had to do it. And yeah, a white man was his boss. Yeah, Thomas Edison was his boss. Yeah, but he's still remembered today for his achievements, not for his oppression, for what he did despite oppression. I mean, every person, we look at it as every person on this planet has a better advantage than us. Not that they've actually had some challenges. I mean, look at Eminem. Eminem had just as many challenges despite his color, and you're going to say that he didn't have oppression coming up in rap. I grew up in the 90s. When Eminem first came out, he was not well received. How could a white person be in hip hop and be a rapper? And Eminem went through the same reversing of that, and he had to overcome to become one of the greatest rappers, you know, in your opinion, top 10 or top 5. I'm not judging him on his rapper, but I'm looking at what he has to overcome. Overcoming oppression or challenges is natural to the human condition. Even animals have to overcome oppression or They have to overcome challenges. Life is harsh everywhere, but here we sell suffering. About 50 million Americans, or 15% of U.S. population, identify as Black alone or with another race, according to Census Bureau. He's presidents in the past have often used the occasion of Black History Month to note the unfulfilled promises made to Black America. So again, what we have is everybody talks about one president that they don't like, even though both of them are Caucasian. I'm going to vote for one because one is better. But every president, Black, Barack Obama included too, my brother's keeper, all these initiatives, we still have unfulfilled promises. And what do? They use Black History Month to say, well, I promise I'm going to give you another unfulfilled promise for another 4 years. Make sure you vote this way. And again, what are we demanding? No, we're too busy dividing ourselves, right? And it gets to the point where the brothers and sisters or people in the world that want to do well, that want to separate themselves from people who want to hang on to the oppression. Do I hang on to the fact that, yeah, I've been called the N-word. I've been called the N-word in high school by football players, and their parents coach me. And I've seen other Blacks sit there and go along with it too, because I was an underclassman. So they were going along with the ride too, implicit in that part. They didn't go on, oh, he one of us and this and this, because I went to Catholic school just like them. I've been called that by them. There's an article with my brother being called the N-word. There were Black people on the person's team. They didn't throw him up into anything else. The Black parents in the stand didn't say anything when they knew about what happened. The school didn't expel that student. And there's a newspaper article about it in there about my brother in a football game. I ran out on the field because my brother was in on their side, going at the person that called him the N-word. And he had other Black people from the opposing team in there. So again, we're not all on the same page. But when it comes to political suffering, everybody wants a ticket line for the suffering meat department. One of the most hurtful things I heard was from a family member recently. I'm not gonna say whether he or she is a person. And it's like, hey man, I want to come up and see you and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, when you coming? I'm like, hey, I fly out to California. I have to go to work sometimes. I say, I ain't coming there to see you. I'm coming to see them. Now, my wife is white. I'm Black. And to a certain part, it hurt me a little bit because, like, I'm your family member, man, and now that I have wife and kids, and the person might have said it in jest, but it hurt me a little bit, because I'm like, dang, man, like, so I have a wife now, and all of a sudden I don't matter. I got a person very close to me right now going through what I believe is a divorce. And I called to check on him today. Hey, man, you doing okay? How you doing, man? I'll give you 10 minutes because I know you're busy, but I want to see how you're doing. Because when you get divorced, or most of the time when you have a family, people don't give a about the man. They don't care about what the man's going through. I've seen my father go through the same thing, man. Just people, the woman could be wrong. She could do you dead wrong. And people will still not care about the man. I called to check on him. And I said, I know you won't call me because men have pride. We go through things, we suffer alone. And the problem is there are more men out there seeing them go through that, will possibly go through the same thing, but won't even pick up the phone to call them. And that's a shame. It shows the weakness in men. I don't care about what you do for a woman, but sometimes a homeboy or a brother, they're going through things, it, and you won't even call or pick up the phone. Shout out to who you are, man. And I did that today. I had that call earlier. It's my brother, but you don't call your brother. I'm not talking about brother in the literal blood sense, but again, we're so easy to discard our own men in our own family. We don't care about them. And why is that? The world has proven you need men in order for this world to function correctly. They're already talking about this with the lack of mechanics. Takes weeks to get certain things done because you've had men in those positions. And now with the so-called equality movement, where are the women going into fixing transition jobs? When I go to the gym, I don't see girls there that are ready to go into transmission job or engineering. They want to go into potential office jobs. But again, when you don't need an office to fix your car to get to work. And again, are we trying to create a drone army of men to service women while they can sit back and do nothing? This isn't coming at the women. I'm coming at the men on this one. Because again, what you do is you give up the men in your circle, you forget about them. They're going through a divorce, they're going through a breakup. And it's all good because you can't be there for them. You can't call and check on them. You're expecting them to come to you. When a man is hurt and wounded, he's quiet. When a man is suffering at his most, he's either suffering alone. And most men know that happens and will sit by and do nothing. They will not call, they will not check, nothing. I call and I check. I do it with my father. I do it with the people in my family that are deserving of that, me being a resource to them. But the problem is, it's rarely ever reciprocated in return. I'm not saying anything about them, but I'm just talking about the fact that men don't support other men, which is why men typically need to go to a woman to find the same support. But you got people in your circle that will always jump into a fight for you, but they won't fight for you. They'll jump in a fight to help you defeat other men, but when you're suffering, they tend to fall to the wayside. How many people know about this? If you're a man, I would like for you to comment on that. And again, what we see is unfulfilled promises by previous presidents made to Black Americans, man and woman. I would love for the Black president or the presidents to come up here and list the promises each president has failed on. But we have the State of the Union address, and most of it's not for us. And again, I always tell whites the same thing. Whatever follows with the Blacks, whites tend to trail behind. It tends to trickle out to what they do is they practice with us, perfect it, then they have a model to go do it everywhere else. This is not just a Black issue. There are tons of people in many races being left behind in this country. Tons. And the problem is, every time you go to do something right, you have to contend with the image of people that have bought into suffering and oppression. They have not bought into progression. They bought into the ideal of progressivism, but that is not a model for our people, and it's not geared towards that. It's for certain segments, women, if you identify as any of the alphabet, persuasion, and nothing's wrong with that. But again, when you do that and go into that, you still leave the main component of who you are, who your people are behind. Yes, I have family members that choose to live that lifestyle. I support them in what they're doing. But when they do that and they forget that they're still my family member, they have essentially betrayed their initial tribe, the people who are in their circle, the Black community that they come from. You can go and identify with other communities, but again, you're still betraying the one that you've left behind, because that's the biggest demographics. When they say Blacks all got to go get round up and go somewhere, you still get put in there no matter what progressive ideology you choose. And that's what people forget. I'm walking yesterday with one of my Indian neighbors, and I hold my skin complexion out to him. He's darker than me. I told him, what makes you think when things go down, when they say people of color, you're not coming with me? You're coming with me. You're going where I'm going. But it gets to the point that we've bought into suffering so much that we have not bought into the progressiveness nature that has existed after slavery. After that time, Blacks went on to achieve greater things than their identity as being slaves or former slaves. And this gets to the point of where our image is such that we are bought into suffering. We're identified with suffering. And you don't see that in other cultures as prevalent. I mean, can you go up to a person of, Israeli religious, that group there, because you can't say anything about the group, can't speak anything about the group, and can you go up there and trade suffering with them and say that you have a more right on the platform of suffering than they do? People have gone through the Holocaust. You can't. It's gotten to the point where even Blacks can't even hold their slavery up and measure it with a Holocaust member. You can't. And that's because you were sold suffering. You weren't told what happened after. Because apparently, me growing up as a Black American citizen, I only see slavery and then Martin Luther King. That's how the timeline goes. It goes slavery, Martin Luther King. So slavery ended in 1865. Martin and the Civil Rights Movement happened in the 60s, right? So there's 100 years of just nothing happened. Blacks were just waiting on Martin and Malcolm to come, waiting on Elijah Muhammad, Nation of Islam, to come. Nothing happened between that time period. No Black history exists or is taught about. And Blacks never asked that question. Where's the missing history here? You know why they don't talk about it? Because that's the part where we were getting done. That's why. We were building communities. But again, people don't talk about that. My cousin CJ and I, we had that discussion the other days about, when they decided to infiltrate drugs in the community and things like that. Okay, but what happened before that time? Why were Blacks mostly married at that time? Why were Blacks in communities? Why did you have Black Wall Street in the 1920s? How did that happen? Where were we coming from slaves to now building up a Black Wall Street? No one asked that question. That's the history that's missing. That's the missing link that never gets taught about. I don't hear all of the Black leadership or speakers talking about that because, again, that's missing history. And there were interracial relationships at that time. Mr. Freeze, Frederick McKinley Jones, biracial mothers and African-American, fathers and Irish American. Yes, they had biracial children at that time. Did you know it was illegal in the United States until about 1960s for biracial couples to be married? It wasn't made into a law then. So you had people back then that, we can't say whether it was forced or whatever else, but again, the parents stayed married for a long time. And this is the image that we have bought into to believe for ourselves. And what we see now is a reemergence of a certain segment of the population trying to separate themselves from the people who bought into suffering. But breaking that mindset is very hard because we lack the education of what we've done to achieve more. And we're still divided because we're putting barriers on love. Love needs to be within a color. Love needs to be within here. We don't talk about how the women in our communities are trained to like people who are going down in life. Kobe Bryant had the same experience when he went to Lower Merion. Yet he spoke languages. He spoke Italian. He spoke Greek or something else like that. He was basketball. He was well read. He was an educated brother. Now, everybody loves quoting Mamba mentality now, but we seldom talk about what he's gone through. Same thing I've gone through. Same thing many of other people gone through. Same thing Michael B. Jordan's gone through. We're all corny until we make it. We were all passed over because we weren't cool enough or thug enough. We weren't identifying with the degeneracy that is being sold as being the cool, being oppressed. Cool, sagging your pants. Cool with your butthole hanging out. And now we have it where it's cool. They want you to wear a dress. They want you to do this. So it's evolved into another layer of buying into making you look like a fool. This is what it is now. This is what they're doing now. What will they think of next? And again, many people have said that and become hated. We don't control our image. Because again, when you take control and you put the Lewis Latimers up in front, you put the Bass Reeves, the strong Black man that was a slave that said, you know what, today is not the day. Today is the day I'm going to give you this. What did he do? He gave him some... And he got many fugitives, deadly people of that time, went into Native American territories, learned multiple language. Again, we have a man who, again, like we said in the 50 Cent one, he went and did the work. He applied himself, not excuses. And we see throughout history that after slavery, Blacks had two choices: continue being into the slave mindset or pick your bootstraps up and start becoming progressive in life. I'm talking about real progressivism. It wasn't laws to give you opportunities that you don't qualify for. It was people doing the work. They were doing the labor. Even 50 Cent said that. Hey, man, I had to do the work. I was willing to do the work to get the deal done. I was willing to invest. And it's to the point now where I'm going to bring it into the next story is, again, when you want to do something right, your image is so bad that, again, the perception of you, the perception of Blacks, because, again, we bought into suffering. We bought into oppression. We've taken it because it came in the form of, if you get the man out of the house, I'll give you a check. Don't get married. Don't stay divorced. Separate your children. Have them raised in single family homes. Although 70% of prisoners, Black prisoners in penitentiaries come from single parent homes, single mother homes. Not saying that's single mother's fault, but again, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Yep. And then the people leave it now. Didn't want to hear that one. A father's not in the home. My cousin CJ elaborated on that one. Same thing. His dad wasn't in the home. So when it came time to dad saying, hey, son, he said, I got to go back with mom right now. You're only there 20% of the time. And we're still buying into destruction. So they went from, let's not talk about the history, let's obscure the history. They burnt it down. Everyone's talking about Black Wall Street being burnt down. No one asked how it operated while it was working. I'm sure everyone talks about destroying Black Wall Street. Again, we buy into the suffering. We never analyze what they were doing right. I do not hear anyone telling people this is what they were doing. Okay, it burned down. There was no information at all left. We only have pictures and images of what's burnt down. There's nothing told about how they operated beforehand. Nothing at all. And again, is it being intentionally hidden? Or is it people don't want to do the work to look it up? Oh, and I'll find out. Trust me, I'll find out and bring it here. The only problem is I have to always worry about whenever I do a show, whenever I bring the knowledge into the show, people tend to want to leave, but I always have to layer it in with the BS or whatever else. And I don't mind doing it. I'll do it to get you that knowledge. You're ignorant. I'm sorry. I'm going to put the right one. You're ignorant will be educated on this show. You will learn something. Oh, you're going to learn today. You're going to learn. I will make you laugh. I will entertain, but I will definitely educate you. You will get educated on this show. Yahoo News. This comes by Monday the 27th. This is yesterday. Karen calls the cops on man for shoveling snow while black. See, again, even in the writing, shoveling the show while black, driving while black. Again, anything to keep it going. Kaylin Womack. I don't know if this is a sister or not, but again, shoveling the show while black. How about Karen calls a cop on two men shoveling her snow, and she didn't want it done, who happened to be black. Now, again, these brothers right here are shoveling the snow. Woman comes out. And again, we don't want to make fun of the woman, but a list of things that Karen's called the cops for. When it comes to black people, the list gets longer and baffling. Latest addition to the list is shoveling snow. 2 black men shoveled a lady's sidewalk for free, and she came outside threatening to call the police. Free is not necessarily necessary in that one. It's kind of a routine to peek outside your window after a snowstorm, waiting for the boys with shovels or snowplows to come and offer their labor. Keyword offer. They didn't do it just initially. They come and actually speak to you. Apparently, this Karen didn't appreciate the help. Now, again, I'm going to be a little bit more on the thorough side because this seems to be put one way to get people galvanized against a person of non-color. If it's her property, you should be asking for permission first. Because like they said here, waiting for boys with shovels or snowplows to come and offer their labor. But again, this is written with some disingenuousness into it. And you got to be careful when you read Yahoo articles like this, because again, this is put from a point to make her look like the bad person. Right now, she's not. Apparently, this Karen didn't appreciate this. How about the woman that's a homeowner? Gregory McAddery, yes, that's an Irish name. The last name McAddery it's a black person here, and his friend. And again, how does he have a McAddery? McAddery is an Irish last name. There has to be some Irish descent passed down. But again, black is black, and biggity black, and the blackity black, and the black on the black side, and black on the black. And his friend have a snow removal business in Rockford, Illinois, per report. The two had gone to shovel their friend's driveway February 17th. And afterwards, they decided to move on to clear the sidewalk in front of the neighbor's house. Again, this is the sidewalk in the neighbor's house, which I do believe in certain states, you're responsible if a person shovels your sidewalk and it does become icy afterwards, and a person happens to have a slip and fall. In some states, you can be sued for that if you do not salt your sidewalk appropriately. The owner of the house, that means they're on their property, shoveling the snow. Now I get it, man. This is a case of a good deed, two brothers doing something good for the community. But again, the first part of this is that the proper thing to do in this situation was to ask. the homeowner if she would like to have it done. That is the proper thing. And it says right here, it's kind of routine thing to peek outside your snowstorm, waiting for the boys with shovels or snowplows to come and offer their labor. Offer is a key word here. Offer. They took it upon themselves to do it, and they have a snow removal business. So they know that a lot of times you need to do this with the owner's consent. We don't know if she's has contracted with another snow removal business. We don't know. And up until here, she's not wrong. She's still not wrong. But the article is written in a way that makes it seem like she is. And again, the labeling and whatever else. She will be wrong at some point because I've already read this article. I want to make sure I was being fair and balanced. But again, this is not a very genuinely journalistic one. This is more of an opinion piece. But it's written as such as to say the woman is bad. Again, at this point in the story, where is she wrong? As a youngin growing up in South Jersey, shout out to all the people in Willingboro, New Jersey, South Jersey, about 30 minutes outside of Philly. And the Garfield East section of Willingboro and that neighborhood, which I grew up in, many of us during snowstorms would wait. I mean, sometimes we'd be out mid-blizzard with snowshoes, everything to keep yourself warm, with shovels ready to shovel someone's driveway and sidewalk for $20. Sometimes maybe even a little bit more. But one thing we would do is go up to the doors and knock and ask if they wanted our service, free or not. Free or not. The important thing is that to ask. And they're a business. So this ain't just two people who are doing just Good Samaritan. And again, the owner came out fussing about their service. Again, not wrong up until now. And on cue, he took to a TikTok video showing the ridiculousness which captured the Karen pulling the snow with her shovel back onto a freshly shoveled sidewalk. Okay, now she's entering and being wrong. Again, I'm going to be very fair and balanced on this because when people are writing articles, it seems that even if they are Black, they're writing articles to kind of pen it a certain way where a person has no right to something that there's there. Now, would I be upset about this? No, I wouldn't. I would be thankful, go out there, assault it correctly, ask the people if they need any help. But in this world today, does a person not have a right to say, hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing on my property? Maybe they already had a payment coming to a place they paid for. We don't know because none of the whole story is being told. We're being sold a story, not told a story. Are you seriously mad because we cleaned off your sidewalk? We're helping you, McAddery said behind the camera. The woman throws her shovel on the ground and pulls out a phone, appearing to call 911. They'll come faster if you say there's 2 N-words over here. This is what he said. Now he's racially charging it. And again, they're calling him a Karen, but the woman up until now is not being disrespectful. Does she not have a right to say, hey, no, I didn't want this. Thank you, but no. And again, would this not be avoided if we had the common courtesy to come up and just ask, hey, we want to just shovel your sidewalk or whatever else. Can we do it? Not assuming that you're doing someone a good deed. In this woman's mind, she could think that these men are up here claiming to do this and will ask her for payment afterwards. And now she's in a debacle. The woman proceeds to tell the police these guys are African American and I don't get along with them, which she's within her right. I have an emergency. Not one did she use the N-word. And this guy said there's 2 N-words. This is his McAddery actually said this according to the article here. So he's racially charging this and people are writing it such. And Yahoo's letting this go. And again, like I said, Joe Biden, the unfulfilled promises, every month they deliver on you and say, I'm going to go up here and spit in front of there. And again, does Kanye have a point? Can they do this with other cultures? Where else can you go in front of a synagogue or any place like that and tell people about the unfulfilled promises? And the only thing you need to say is, hey, we need to talk more about the history. Forget about economic outcomes. Forget about anything else. We're not going to talk about whatever that you've done positive. We're not going to talk about anything that was solution-based. We're just going to talk about, hey, this is what we need to teach people. And Black that's fine. You know, one of the bigger problems I have with the separation between the older generation, the 60s now, while I do appreciate that they've done a lot to eliminate segregation and make more of an integrated world that we live in, there's still the old adage of the fight has left them and the fight is in a new court right now. And it seems to be that there's a part of the population that is trying to do things more progressively in the sense of, hey, I'm going to build, I'm not going to hang on to segregation at that time. And it's like, we still got to hold on to the civil rights. We haven't moved to what's now, what's current in our environment. We still have to go to the queens, the gods of the earth, all of that stuff. And we need to go back to segregation. So again, we didn't have before segregation, we hang on to that. And then before that, it was slavery. So now it's the next, what is the next thing that we have to do to hold on to? And again, it's not talking about, hey, look, this is what we got to do to be progressive in the sense of forwarding our community. I would make the argument that our community is going backwards. And many in the community who've talked before do a great job of blaming someone else for things that no one else had a responsibility in doing. No one made you drive your SUV through there. That's not white society doing that because you missed some biscuits. But we're going to blame it on them. There's no accountability for ourselves. This woman goes on to say, I have an emergency. She's on a phone call claiming 2 men were bothering her. These 2 guys are African-American and I don't get along with them. Did she say I don't get along with African-Americans? That's what we're talking about. See, this is where Karening goes wrong. They're making fun of me because, again, they said that you can tell them that's 2 N-words. Who goes and says that to a person of non-color? Hey, go tell them there's 2 N-words up here. They'll probably come quicker, laughing at her. So they thought it was funny to post on TikTok. Again, the TikToking of the world, instead of saying, hey, ma'am, no, we want to do this and breaking down a barrier, you create more division because, again, we're being divisive. Change this camera over here real quick. There we go. The Rockford Police Department provided a log of the service call to the Daily Beast confirming it was placed at 12:30 p.m. on the 17th. The caller's name, who's been blocked out, and reported disorderly conduct and an urgent need for help. She said that there is a race redacted male here harassing her. She doesn't want him here, which she's African American. And another comment, there are 2 race redacted African American males. She says they're disrespecting her and she wants them gone. And again, they're calling this a Karen. I'm saying, okay, yeah, we'll call her a Karen because they're on her property shoveling snow. Didn't ask her. She said, hey, stop doing that. And why are you doing that? I don't want you to do it. And again, their response was, let me hit the TikTok, let me chuckle and cackle and whatever else. And, again, and this, unfortunately, here we go. Here's the other one. Here's how we switch it again. Unfortunately, this is what happened when Black folks try to take a peaceful approach. Our kindness doesn't mean anything to a racist. A racist. They said the N-word, she didn't. Where in here does it say that she actually said, hey, these are 2 N-words? She identified them as African-American. She said they're disrespecting me. Nothing in here said because of their race that she had an issue with them. She said they're African-American and I don't get along with them. They didn't ask her. They didn't do anything respectful. Again, go back to 50 Cent. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to like this part. A lot of people are going to hate this part. But again, when does respect, like 50 Cent said, he went in there with respect. And again, this article is written with disingenuousness. It really is. Considering a 9-year-old young girl from New Jersey who used a homemade remedy to rid her neighborhood of invasive insects last year. A neighbor called the cops, describing her as suspicious when in reality she was just trying to help save the environment. Again, why don't we tell people what we're doing? After all the chaos, I would have had let this Karen shove her own dang snow, whether to again, and that's what it is. Why are we becoming what we hate? I mean, again, is it, and that's what I always say is that, again, for the men there in the community too, as well, is it about get back or is it about getting better? Are we trying to get back or are we trying to get better as a community? Because once you get the get back, what you still now, can you stop complaining? Okay, what is our plan after we make everybody suffer for having chattel slavery? What's the plan afterwards? Because I want to know if we just paid everybody back and we got the reparations, like what will it take to make us happy? Even after that, now that you've gotten to get back, okay, let's just say you reverse, you put them in slavery and all of that stuff, 400 years, right? However long the people want to claim that 400 years of slavery and bondage. Now you're saying we're even, but now you have another generation of people who are now saying they're oppressed. Where does it stop? Where does it stop? And again, okay, so what's next? You really think that people on the whole are gonna be like, yeah, okay, now it's even, and then are we gonna find another stone to jump onto? That's the suffering stone. Well, we went first. That'll be the next argument. We went first. I mean, this is a travesty, man. I'm white, but I'm not stupid. This is what he has to offer. I'm gonna read these comments here. That's what I would like to see with people. Build back better, turn into stock market recession, food shortages, record high gas prices, record high inflation, a border crisis, a proxy war with nuclear armed Russia. Elections have consequences, stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. Let's not forget the Inflation Reduction Act that doesn't actually reduce inflation. Don't forget the Afghan withdrawal catastrophe, student loan catastrophe, $700 billion for climate activism instead of modernizing the infrastructure. Lowell, right, as soon as he got in office, he stopped building the border wall so we could have unprecedented illegals pouring through the southern states and shut down pipelines to drive the prices of gas way up record highs, which drove the cost of transporting goods, raising the prices in stores. And again, we will now have more downward economic mobility, more mobility downward for Black and brown communities. Only 12% of 1,000 Americans polled have great deal of confidence in the president's ability to manage a crisis caused by an escalating war between Ukraine and Russia, says an NBC poll. Okay, that's NBC. It says March 18th to the 22nd, polls show that 16% of respondents have quite a bit of confidence, while 71 have just some or very little confidence in its management of crisis with post-Cold War nuclear-armed Russia. You won't say anything until you start seeing the devastation and destruction. And you're going to need the same people that you sit here and curse when it all goes down. I just want to know, if that happens, do you think they're going to care whether you're Black then? If you do have a WW3, do you think it's going to matter whether you're white or Black then? We're still over here divisive, right? We're still divisive. This is what frustrates me the most, is because, again, we have it where people don't understand what's really happening. Everybody's, again, you're taking tickets off the welfare line of suffering, keep on pedaling down, not doing anything progressive in your life, and you can't stand up when the time really does come. What are you doing to change things, folks? Sorry, my ear was itching. On to other news and TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, folks. Don't you love TikTok? I mean, don't you?
TikTok. Everybody loves to go on TikTok. Everybody loves to go on TikTok and post videos of whatever they think is real. And then after that, what do?
We take it as the real thing we should do.
And on to other things about TikTok, folks. Do you like oranges? I like oranges. Aren't oranges great? So TikTok today, and this is what I'm talking about. This is the reason why we need to be concerned about making sure we change things in the future. Why we get people into things that actually matter. You want to know why it really is going to matter? Because now in TikTok, right? We're going to go over here to this TikTok article. I'm just to show you it, all right? Today may be a throwaway show. I don't care, folks. I don't care. I'm going to talk about what I talk about. Not every day will be the same day. Why are people eating oranges in the shower on TikTok? From hair mask, and again, I'm not endorsing doing this stuff. I'm just showing you that, again, the stupidity goes way long. We had the pod challenge, the ice water challenge, and the thing about it is that it's so pervasive that people will do it just to get the views, the likes, and the clicks. And my whole thing is that I see on TikTok, I remember this kid named Joe, not Joe Biden, but Joe, not this Joe.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Retard.
Not that Joe. I'm talking about another Joe. Up in Windsor, California, a place I stay very often. Young kid. And I saw him one morning on TikTok. I stayed at his family's house and do my nursing and stuff there. Sometimes they're older teenage, the friends, the boys, they stay over, and I'm up in one of the rooms and I come down breakfast, or I have my breakfast and I see the boys there. For years, you talk to him, some form of high body communication, and he's up and I see him on TikTok, scrolling through TikTok, looking at girls' behinds, the videos of what girls show on TikTok. And I looked for a second and I said, man, you're giving this girl a like. She's got 77,000 likes. And all she did was show her rear end and spandex. And she's gotten some gratification. And all you did was just looking like that's what your attention is worth. And I told him, I said, why are you liking? Do you know that girl? Have you dated that girl? Has she done anything to qualify herself for you? He said, no. I said, so why are you liking her? Why are you liking her stuff? Now imagine a world where men were like, okay, you have a picture of you in spandex and your butt is there. You're obviously attractive, but why should I like your would it not stop? And again, that's what I'm saying. It starts with men. Because again, we're too easily trying to give gratification, and now we give it away for free. Doing a show. People texting me. That's what you heard beeping for, folks. Shout out to my son today, man. My son had stomach problems. I got a call from a school nurse twice, said stomach ache, whatever else. He said, Dad, I'm good. I can make it through the day. Stomach's hurting. Nurse call, gave him some Tums like that. He's a soldier, man. Good communication. He didn't need to come home. I said, bud, can you make it today? Or should I come up pick you? If I had to go pick him up, I wouldn't be doing this live stream. But he's like, no, Dad, I got it. Okay. I'm like, good, son. Let me know. I'll come get you right away. And it's nice that my kids are in they're not predominantly white, but a majority white. I would say the larger student body is predominantly white, but they go to school with a lot of Indian kids and other people of other races. And shout out to the fact that the nurse calls the father, me. The school emails me. They email my wife too, but they call the father. That must be hard for them to understand that. No, they call the father. Mr. Davis, hi, school nurse. And it's like, yeah, I'm a black father coming up there to pick up my black son. And it changes the image of what you think a black father is. It changes the image. When my posting manager, Eric, and I, my executive manager, Eric, and I, we go out to have dinner, Paul's not on anything like that, but we got to have a business dinner. We go out in our ancestrylands, garb, where it's a business dinner. I tell the gentleman that serves us, whoever serves us, man or woman, hey, look, we're on a business dinner. We're discussing business. We're discussing our business planning. We do that at Texas Roadhouse, which is a write-off, by the way. I tell people that all the time. It's an expense for our business. And we go and talk about business things we can talk about for the business. How's business going? What things can we do to make more efficient? It's a write-off. We have good steak dinner, entree. We take our time. Did some drinks too. And they see two black men having a business dinner. They don't have to ask who we are because what we're wearing is there. You can obviously see we're in the uniform of two businessmen having dinner. We're a little more casual, but the whole point is we wear the business stuff. I remember 50 Cent saying something about that. He said, hey, man, I've got G-Unit stuff. I hold a meeting. That's why he had, turn a sneaker deal down or take people's monies away. He said, I called a meeting, everybody coming there with Nike and everything else. He's like, yo, you got deals signed with G-Unit. You're making money off wearing the stuff. You're wearing everybody else's stuff. You're not wearing the brand. And that's what he sees. People out there are going to go buy Nikes instead of G-Unit. You get paid from G-Unit. Salute to 50, man. It's a lot of things you can learn from even 50, man. What I admire about 50 is that his tenacity and his intelligence. He's not clinging to his suffering. His suffering empowers him to do more, not become less. And again, the pride I get to know as the white families, Indian families. Like I had to walk with my Indian neighbor. You know what happened this morning too? And this one I'm talking about the black image. All right. Shout out to my neighbor Anish. He's a Mulish from southern India. I forget, I'm not going to butcher his hometown, but we had that walk yesterday I spoke about. And lo and behold, I'm taking my two kids out to the bus stop. I do that every morning when I'm home. And his son is out there waiting for us at the front part of the door. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? He says, my dad said for you guys to walk with you guys to the bus stop. That level of trust. And a foreigner giving a black man a level of trust. And Lord knows he has no reason to trust who I am or anything else, but he sees a black father connecting with his son and his daughter. He sees him present in his life, and he knows, hey, I see that guy out there every morning at the bus stop with his kids. Every afternoon, he's racing the kids inside. And not only that, he has other kids that he's there. That's a black man doing that. And for an Indian, when I say Indian, I mean Eastern Indian, Eastern, like India Indian. And he said, the kid said, my dad said his name's Johan, not Johan, Johan. He said, my dad said to go with you guys to the bus. And I said, hey, next time, just knock on the door. We'll come out with you. But the fact that he said, hey, go with that man, that black man there, the kid's parents, and he call me a black man, he knows my name, but I'm just saying I'm a black man and an Eastern Indian man, and they're a very tight population. You can't really penetrate into that population like that. They stay very much to their own group. And again, because he sees what's being taught out there, and he said, when we were on our walk yesterday, he said something to me I forgot to mention in yesterday's podcast. He said, I've learned more from you about the U.S. tax system than I had known previously. He was educated from an intelligent black man. And I'm saying to myself, do my people, if they knew that he went on TV and said in national news, would I be celebrated or hated? I had to ask myself that. Because again, I broke down a cultural barrier. His perception of blacks is what's being taught or shown on TV. And it's not a good thing. But again, he learned so much from a walk. We took a 3-mile walk together through the neighborhood, up and down, talking about everything from his culture to the American U.S. politics, a tax system. And he learned from a black man more than he had learned on his own or anybody else that had been around here. And I'm saying is that breaking down that cultural line, I earned the respect of him saying, hey, go with that family if you need to go to the bus stop. He left his son. I mean, we could have just told him to go in there. Anything could have happened. And he trusted his child with a black man, carrying an Indian child, no less. And I thank you for that, Anisha. If you're watching this and your family from India, thank you all for that. Because again, it just shows that this podcast is more than just about race, politics, and everything else. I'm showing you through action, folks. There won't be any scams on Ancestrylands talking about we're not who we say we are. I'm a real person, a father doing things that I'm talking about. But the problem is people hate to see a black man doing well, doing good for himself. And black people are the people that hate it the most. That's the secret no one tells you. That's what I'm saying. Shout out to the person that I had a conversation with earlier. This man's going through a separation from his wife. He doesn't even want to do this. He actually wants things to get better. Spoken to him at length on this many a time. And I'm sitting here talking to my wife about it. It's like, man, that's a shame. I said, she says, why? I says, because everyone's going to coalesce around his wife. And he's going to move out. And no one's going to give a shit. They aren't. Something happens to a man, nobody cares. Women and children first. He can die there, right? That's what they'll say. Leave him in. But we go back to TikTok, folks. Again, hair masks, cold rinses. People incorporate many different shower rituals into their routines. But interesting enough, one that's caught hold on social media is eating an orange in a shower. I mean, is there anything wrong with eating orange in a shower? No. The concept's simple, very simple. I mean, it's just eating an orange in a shower. But again, it's new TikTok trends. Turn on your shower, grab an orange, get in, start peeling, eat the fruit, and enjoy citrusy goodness. There's no real way to say who experimented with this. I mean, come on, man. Who gives a shit? I mean, you're telling me, then what's next? Eat an orange in a bath is a trend. Probably someone in this world has never. And again, I mean, we're forgetting about Valentine's Day. I mean, I've been served chocolate covered strawberries in a bath from my wife when she proposed to me. Yes, I proposed to my wife, but my wife also proposed to me. She gave me my ring. Again, make your women qualify for you. I gave her a ring first. I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. Yes. She also did ask me to marry her. He ran me a bubble bath. Was in there, strawberries, everything else. Pulls out a ring. Thank you to my brother. Helped her pick. Although I would say you should have went bigger on them diamonds. And she asked me to marry her. It wasn't because of pride. It was because of love and the man that qualified to be the man in her life. And yeah, just like I got down on one knee, I don't know if she was really down on it. She was already, she ran a bath. She was sitting at the edge. She was standing up. But again, it was about a man and a woman saying, hey, we're going to build this together. And of course, in TikTok trend, it is from a Reddit since the least account. It says described as a feel-good experience of shower oranges the same year the shower orange subreddit was created. And it reached audience of TikToks where, of course, a growing number of videos extolling the virtue of this bath ritual. You're eating an orange in the shower. And I mean, now it's become some kind of pagan, it eliminates so any worry of making a mess. There's another thing called a trash can that you can actually peel because it's a shower, right? So that's going to go down shower drain, clog up plumbing, and be thousands of dollars damage. So easy to clean up. You can rip it open with with no remorse in a hot shower, and the heat and humidity exaggerate the taste. I mean, it's an asteroid, people. And people will click on anything. When I first saw the concept, this is a dietitian. It was a video of someone peeling an orange in a steamy shower with mellow music. No real context as to why. It looked really relaxing. Is it because the music and the steam of a shower is naturally relaxing? How does an orange create the experience when actually the other two things are pretty much, which is a steamy shower, is relaxing in itself? And again, here's the problem with our world. I've got to try it because I bet it was really energizing. The person tried, the dietitian, no less. These are educated people with degrees telling you shouldn't have more salt in your diet because you have heart issues. But I'm going to go on and try off this orange shower because I saw it on TikTok. And again, the feelings factor, always not the facts, the feelings. I feel like there's a whole lot of wellness rituals that catch fire, and anything that's somewhat simple to do, but can make you feel a little bit more energized and motivated is something I think about. I think a lot of people are willing to try. Really? First, we had the shower bombs. Now we have the orange shower. I got another one for you. I know one that's real relaxing. How about a golden shower? Why don't we try that one, ladies? It's easy. You lay down and then you just try to pee and let the pee roll right back on top of you. Golden shower, relaxing because you'll feel the relief from peeing, and also you'll have the warmth and extreme scent of urine, which is sterile, in the shower too as well. I mean, what would they try up next? First you had and again, here you go, no real science behind it. It's just sensory, whatever else. And of course, TikTok is now the new authority on knowledge and everything else. We've had the crate challenge, we've had the pod challenge, we've had the ice challenge or the water challenge. Right now, you got every dance in America coming on TikTok, the grunge dance. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing the same dance, but they're doing a different thing, and all of a sudden, that's thousands of views. And again, we as people are now devolving into, and that's why I say you get into robots. You're going back, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, that level of robots, because there's no investment into learning anything of worth. And again, why should the elites care about people when they're invested in stupidity? Why should they? What we are is drones. If you look at the ant society, I'm going to say the same thing. In the ant society, you have the drones, the worker bees, all of that stuff. You have the basically the bottom layer is full of, they're expendable. All we need to do is grow another one and replace them. All the important members are at the top, and those are few. Why should the elites do anything to really help us when we don't qualify for the help that we need? Because again, we're going to try out a TikTok challenge. And I think purposely this stuff is created because no one knows who it is. I think this stuff is created because they know the masses will take hold of it. It's like a koi pond. You drop a little bit of bread in there every time you want the fish to respond. You have guests over. Hey, look at the pretty koi. Look at the stupid people. Let's drop a TikTok Reddit in there, or a Reddit subreddit. And let's make people, first it's orange. Let's give them a pineapple next. Let's see what they'll do with apples. Let's see if they'll swallow a pod. And we keep on buying it. And they're like, you know what? These people ain't smart, man. They're not smart at all. Not smart at all. Okay, folks. Thank you for continuously watching. Folks, today is Tuesday, February 28th. We're going to get into our next story here, folks. Bill Gates finally explains why he's buying so much farmland. Yes, folks. Again, we talk about buying land, ancestrylands.com. You can pay $1,000 down, $250 a month, get a property. You can own a property. And again, everybody says, oh, I'm not in this. I want to do the housing thing like this, and that. My posting manager, Eric, and I were discussing earlier. They had one of these Instagram feeds. They see these little clips about mobile homes, all this stuff, and this, and this, and this, and that. All right. Expensive, this, and that. And you get this little segment of how much money you can make in mobile homes. I'm going to tell you something of my experience doing this 5 years with the land business. You buy a property, say the property's $5,000. Okay. So generally you have all these Instagram, whatever else, and this is what I'm talking about. When I first got into land, I learned this about properties and something didn't add up right. And I'm going to say is that, yes, I do think owning land is profitable. I do think that there are many ways that you can make money on land. But again, it all depends on how you do it and who you buy it from. Thank you to Jorge Pineda and his wife, Pineda, that I spoke to a few days ago. They went out and seen properties in Lancaster. Lancaster, California, this place is blowing up. I still stayed in California City because I knew that that area is primed to grow. Like I've said before, Mike Tyson's bought 40 acres out there for doing his weed ranch and glamping. That's coming, folks. And they said that, hey, we went out to properties out in Lancaster and they're junk properties. So, well, it wasn't mine because I got properties right behind a house. There's no junk there. Got drone videos to show you. And he said, yeah, I like your lots. I do. Now, this is really from him. I have no reason to make this up. And he gave me his number. He sent me a message. I called him right away. And he said, I like your lots because they look like clean lots. I said, yeah. He said, other people are trying to charge me money. And he said, he really wanted something bigger. But I told him, I said, the problem with bigger acres is something I tell people all the time who want to buy land. That I want 5 acres, water and power. Do you know how much water it takes to water 5 acres? If you're in an area like California that did not have a lot of water prior to the storms we saw right now. They said, oh, yeah. I said, listen, I'm sure you can find it, but you better add some M's to that purchase price. I said, because you're not going to find 1 acre's water and power for less than at least $500,000 in California. That's not how it's going to work. And if I had it, I wouldn't sell it to you unless you were looking at $500,000 anyway, because that's water and power. But when you have a lot this big, this is an acre, this whole square screen I'm on. All right. And that's what I'm getting into. Bill Gates is buying up farmland. Now, you could call Gates Emperor Palpatine or whatever you want to call him. All right. But again, he's buying farmland. Not Mitch McConnell. What is the guy's name? He ran for president a few years ago. I can't even think of his name. Mitt Romney. There you go. He's talked about when these things happen, we pull our money out of the stock market. There's articles on him saying that, and we start investing in land, farmland. Okay, they go farmland. Now, again, it takes a lot of money to buy farmland. What can regular people do? You can buy land, especially from ancestrylands. But a lot of times I have to always tell people, listen, in LA, California, generally, most of the lots are 0.1 acre in size. 0.1, not 1 point. And people typically, I want an acre, I want 2 acres, 3 acres with water and property. I was like, great. I also have a bridge in New York that I would like to sell you for $1.5 million. It's called the You're Out of Your, hold on. It's called You're Out of Your Mind Bridge. Okay. That's the name of the bridge. I said, because first of all, where's your water coming from? It's a little educational when we talk about farmland and buying up land. When you own property, this is a little bit of game. Get you to understand when you're looking at buying land. I would encourage you to go and buy from Ancestry Lands. We have tons of property that people are owning and now building on. The one thing people misunderstand about land is this, again, it's what you think of land versus how land really operates. The land is managed by the city. Okay, that's at the local level. Then the city, it goes from city to county, county to state, state to federal. That's how it works, uphill. The city has to supply water to 1 acre of a property, this whole land here, whole land structure in this square. Wherever your property is located at, the water has to be brought to that property, and it's got to water the whole corner. And if you don't know, an acre of property is about 43,000 square feet. The amount of water that is wasted on 1 acre because someone left their water on to water a lot and it's flooded now takes up resources from a city, which is generally why lots are smaller. That's one of the main reasons. Still, people say, I want an acre. Got it. Okay, well, find an acre. Find an acre at a price you can afford. It's going to be very hard. I didn't get a lot of pushback from them. They said, oh, yeah, you're right. It is, that makes sense. It makes sense. So generally with an acre, you're not going to have power and water right next to that property. Very few properties have land like that. I managed to have one of them. I had water not too far off. It was just about a half a mile away, but I adjusted the price so that way. Shout out to Mr. Madden and his family up there. Pray for you all. I made sure that I explained to them that the price was being lowered because I was accounting for, I don't want to charge you full price because I want to account for what you got to do to get water brought to that lot. It could be a couple $1,000. It could be $20,000. And I told them that. They said, yeah, I appreciate that. It wasn't about selling them. It was about providing them information so they can make an informed choice on who they want to buy land for. Because most people don't know about buying land. Bill Gates is buying land. He's buying so much farmland. People want to look like, yeah, it's evil, but it's this and this. And I would say this, but you have opportunity to buy land too, from ancestrylands, no less. Microsoft founder and billionaire turned philanthropist Bill Gates recently laid the longtime conspiracy theory that he owns some 80% of all U.S. farmland to rest in his 11th appearance in the Ask Me Anything session on Reddit. He answered a dozen questions over a few, including why are you buying up so much farmland? Do you think this is a problem with billionaire wealth and how much you can disproportionately acquire? I would say that we at Ancestry Lands have an acre, 2, 3, up to 4 acres of properties that we sell. No interest, no credit checks. What are you talking about? 1,000 down or 1,500 down for these bigger properties, $250 a month. No interest, no credit checks. You can buy this property. You can buy property that you can do farming on. In fact, the bigger properties that we have, even on our website, you actually can buy and do farming on. You can do solar. Get some rebates, get some grants. But again, what happens is people are looking at the wealthy and saying, I see what they're doing, but I'm not going to make a move. I hear this podcast. I see people telling me all the time I can go buy land, but I'm not going to do it because I want to go buy Jordans. I'm going to buy Jordans right now. He says, I own less than 1/4,000th of farmland in the U.S. I've invested in these farms to make them more productive and create more jobs. This isn't some grand scheme involved. In fact, all decisions are made by a professional investment team. While Gates is spending billions investing in agricultural properties to make them more productive, a growing number of retail investors are getting a piece of the real estate market with as little as $100 to a company backed by high-profile investors like Jeff Bezos. You see them doing it. But it's a big conspiracy theory. Why can't you just buy land? I mean, he's doing it. He's buying land. People can buy land. Do you need to buy? He's not buying land to live there and farm himself. Huh. People want to hear about that, huh? In other news, folks, the Mexican president, who's the Mexican president? Anybody know what that? Okay, President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, like Labrador Retriever, but Obrador. Shout out to Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. He posted oh gosh, I have actually, I drew up this video. I wanted to show this to you guys too as well. You're gonna love this one. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up right now. Because I want to make sure that I have it ready. Oh, it's a great video right now that I'm going to bring up. I want to actually minimize it here because I want to show this after I read this article here. I mean, if you believe in fairy tales and all of that stuff, this is going to be definitely the article for you folks. Okay. I'm going to try to bring this up. Yes, actually going to try to bring this up. Mexico's, let me read the article too as well, because I want to make sure that people see this. So this is apparently the photo taken. Okay, all you pagan people out there, your Wiccans and everyone else doesn't believe in God, but believes in magic, science, mystery. Apparently, Mexico's president shared what he said was to be a photo of a mythical woodland elf that he claimed provided evidence of the existence of mischievous Mayan spirits. The Aluks, according to ancient folklore. The grainy video, yes, with all these iPhones we have out here, we cannot get a clear picture of anything. But if it's a Mexican president saying that he saw this, I tend to believe him. You know why? Because why would he throw his name out there? He posted it on social media, so you know everybody's going to believe it. The grainy photo, this photo up here, folks. Oh, here it is up here. The photo right here of the ancient Aluks, a Mayan spirit. And I'm going to show you probably, you know, what he was hoping it would be like. It was two bright white eyes, a long hair as a headdress or a headdress. It stares down at the camera up in a tree. The president suggested the creature resembled the sculpture from an archaeological site in the Yucatan Peninsula. Heard about that many a time. And I'm going to show you actually what he thought he was going to see. Here we go, folks. I'm going to just give it to you real quick. Here we go. Here's my, where is it at? Can I get a window here? Yeah, here we go, folks. Let me give you some volume here, a little bit of volume. I don't want to get copyright extension. Here we go. This is what the Mexican president thought he was seeing. Ay, caramba. Ay, Dios mío. It's an Alux. That's my Mexican voice for all the Mexican people out there. An Alux. There you go, folks. That's what he thought it was. Shout out to the Mexican president out there, right? Let's give him some love up here, man. Mexican president. Seeing an Alux, right? Not seeing this is what he thought he was going to see up there. What he saw was something else. Quite disappointing, but still took to social media. And the reason why is that, you know, obviously they didn't, the Alux didn't want you to see this, Mr. Obrador. If you saw this, you probably would have posted that. Maybe there's a new female Mexican president, you know, first lady. You know what I mean? This is what he was looking for here, folks. Shout out to the Mexican president here, folks. Yeah. If anyone wants to know where I got that from, that is from the Ancient Magus' Bride anime. It's a great, great story. Well written and great visuals. The Mexican president said that the photo had been taken 3 days earlier by an engineer on construction site of a new railway known as Tren Maya, which will connect tourist destinations, including ancient Mayan sites. And it appears to be an Alux. Everything is mystical. And that's what it looks like in the trees, hiding there, folks. His far-fetched claim came to thousands. Yeah, of course you're sorry here. I'm going to get to this one thing. I'm going to talk about a little bit of my personal life but let me finish up with this article, folks. I want to finish up with this because I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes going into things I hate. I'm going to educate people that, you know, don't understand business as business goes along, and the reason why I think people are not successful in business. We talked about that with 50 yesterday, but I'm going to give you my experience as a small business owner. But again, let's finish this up with the Mexican president. He said the claim came as thousands took to the street of Mexico City over a weekend to protest against against an alleged presidential power grab. So he wants to let everybody know that what he's trying to tell everybody is that he's seen an Alux. All right. He would love for us all to believe that what he saw was something different from what he took in the tree. But I guess if they start there, they'll have you believing even more. Correct or incorrect? He wanted you to understand that that's what he saw in the trees. It was taken, pictures taken, folks. If you believe this, you're stupid. Shout out to that person. Right? It says the citizens are protesting in Mexico City over alleged presidential power grab, and they said that social media users were quick to point out the photo appeared to have been circulating online in various guises for the last 2 years. Right? So he's hired people out there, the ops come out there and tell everybody what they saw, or what he saw. Is the Alux. If you look it up in folklore, what an Alux is obviously this is what he wants people to believe. Again, I'm going to show you all of this, folks. This is what he thinks an Alux is here. I'm going to just let me get it to you one more time here. I think this is great because I can imagine it's like once he gets there, he wants you to believe the next thing he saw. Where's my screen here? Come on, folks. I'm sharing a screen here. Window. Let's get the screen up. Where's my screen at here? Whatever. We'll get to it later. All right, here we go. This is what he wanted. He wants this. This is what he wants everybody to start believing here. This is your Alex here. This is your Mexican elf spirit here. Down in Mexico, long hair, coming through. Hi, Presidente. Obviously, that's what he wants us to believe, folks. In other news, I'm going to talk about some things, folks. What am I having hardships in my business now? I'm going to talk to you about some things in my business. I am in search of a graphic designer, folks. Yes, a graphic designer. So I've had a graphic designer on my team for a few years now. And while I do understand business, I respect loyalty. I respect a person that is committed. One of the things that I've done as a business owner is, sometimes people have said, hey, I need an advance. And I say, sure, you haven't done the work yet. I'll give you an advance. You've got history, good work history, good professionalism that's there. When I ask someone to do a project and I tell them, and again, remember, I'm paying for the service. I'm saying, hey, I want you to create something new. You tell me we can use what you created before that I did not pick when you gave me a choice between A or B. The first thing I have to ask myself is, are you paying me or am I paying you? Again, minimal effort. Lets me know already something's breaking down. And I've talked to my posting manager, my marketing exec manager, Eric Valdez, about this, is that I punish people by not giving them more pay. Actually, I reduce the pay. I reduce the pay. As a business owner, your job primarily first is to protect your business. You put people in places of employment, you give people jobs to do, but what happens is the culture of people doing nothing or a minimal effort will continue on so long as the whip doesn't crack. Furthermore, people will become complacent. So as a business owner, you have to always contend with that. You have to be in your business as well as working on your business. I see this all the time when I started out a business. And I'm not going to forget what I said about understanding about investing in land or investing in anything. Because I think people miss the education on just how important it is to understand when you're investing in real estate, what actually that is. I told this person, I say, hey, I need you to give me new graphic design. Say, I need a new template to show me. They said, no, we'll use the other brand. I'm like, okay, that's not what I asked. I'm tasking you to do this. I say, okay, hey, I'm asking for a new thing, not what you gave me the other one. If you show me to version A and version B and I didn't like version B, then I'm going to stay at version A. Then that means I'm not interested in version B. I want you to create something new. And this is one of the problems I talked about with AI. Talked about that before. Is that one of the problems with AI is that AI will rob you of your creativity. Do I use GPT? Yes, very minimally. I use it to give me maybe new talking points on something or like an ad title, but I do not let it do the work for me. It's not perfect. It will become more perfect. It will. But what I see is that the creativity does not last long because people are finding easy ways to get stuff done. So a week has gone by. I see this person on social media. They're logged on. You see the little green dot, bloop, bloop, green dots up there. And I'm saying to myself, like, man, days are going by. I've tasked this person with creating a new project or new template for me. And a week's gone by and they haven't even said anything to me. I'm like, okay. So I say, my business is not built around one person. As my posting marketing exec, Eric Valdez, has always said, you can't have one point of system failure. You can't let one point of the business fail because of one person. I agree with that totally. And I put out a post yesterday about a new graphic designer position. I did it everywhere, Facebook, business page, LinkedIn, and I've got a lot of responses back very quickly. One thing I've noticed is that when I'm fielding potential people who want to be in opportunities with me, one thing I've learned is that they rarely listen to what I have to say. And I want to give this education to people out there, especially people in other countries. Because I've talked to people in, they're from India and other places, other countries, Bangladesh, whatever. They're very high on promises, very low on delivery. and even non-existent on listening. One of the things is in real estate is that when you see real estate advertisements, they tend to be, again, the TikTok version of whatever's trendiest. They have a certain template because it's different with land. And that's the reason why I've done it at this point. When people want the knowledge, you're going to get it on the second half of the show. I'm going to give you the real stuff you need to know, but you're going to get it. You got to go through an hour and a half. And I'm not going to give you timelines. I'm going to make you listen for it. People in the land business have noted some of my successes, the YouTube success. And I appreciate that. I'm not clouding anything. People have probably done better than I have financially in my business. Salute to them. But one thing I've done is land is a very different model. When you're selling a house, you see a house. You can see the borders of a house. You can see the edges, like a door behind me. See the edges of the door. There's no question how big or how small the house is because you can have a visual right up there. Land is very different. And again, you have all these other podcasts out there giving you the glory points of businesses, and no one actually gives you details. When you have land, you can't see the border of land because most land is connected to more vacant land. If you're lucky enough to have properties like to have a house behind them, it gives you some point of reference. So on our videos or our properties, you may notice that I actually do outlines of land. And the reason being is a long time ago, 5 years ago, I knew that people would not know what dimensions of land would be. And I started drawing the dimensions themselves, the shape of the land. I go and actually draw it according to a plot map. That will give people a visual reference when they're looking at this picture of dirt, land. You get an idea of what a quarter an acre looks like. You get the shape. You get to put some visuals there. It's just not a picture of grass, dirt, mountains, and trees, and lakes and streams. You get to actually see what the outline shape would look like. Then I went and put the sides, 50 feet on the right side, 100 feet in the back, 100 feet in the front, 50 on the left. Then we give you the acreage, we give you a little bit of what's there. Because again, people sometimes are visuals. People don't like to read. I did that myself. No one taught me that. For all the people that think that because you gave me some money that you've helped me out in the business. Yes, that has helped, but it is not the thing that has helped the business become successful. I'm not diminishing their contributions. What I'm saying is that you should not think that what you've done has got me anywhere but to further me, but it has not made the business what it is that you decided to now, help assist with. It's not. When you own a business, the first thing you have to do is keep people from destroying your business from the inside. The biggest threat from you, like Jesus sitting at the Last Supper, is from people within the closest to you have the most harm that they can do to you. So going back to the graphic designer, a week goes by. I put out the post about needing a graphic designer. Now I hear back from the person. Oh, I'm trying to, get you the new template, something unique. But the problem is everyone's using all the known templates. And what you're saying to me is that you have no creativity within you to create something new because what you've been using is a template already designed. So you now run out of ideas because every template is accessible in other areas. You have nothing new to offer. The problem is that I have, and the person is, now they're apologetic. Now they're sorry because of that. And I said that, and I gone on to notice that it's business. It is business. It's business, never personal. But I said in my business model, when I was doing more successful, meaning that I was selling properties left and right, I have a slowdown in the business. A lot of land people, real estate people on a whole, have slowdowns in their business. I'm not going up here and celebrating every time I get a sell. Slowdowns happen. As a long-term business, as a legacy business, which I talk about often, if you want to have a business that is a true generational business, you've got to think long-term. And if you're thinking long-term, like you really want to be there, I met a land business people that they were here since the 1800s, family owned. And although, yes, I know there's a lot of things that happen in that, but I'm saying, man, you've got almost 200 years of family owned business that you've inherited. The wealth of knowledge being passed down. Respects to them. I want that. I want to be able to do that with my children, my grandchildren, and I want them to have the opportunity to succeed or fail at growing the business. And the main problem is I always have to safeguard it from people internal threats. And the problem is that when I was doing well or better than I am, I still pay everybody. I make sure I pay my team no matter what happens. When you own a business, you always pay your team. You never ever short your team on the money. Never. That is a cardinal sin to do. You don't tell them you'll get it. The day they're paid, you pay them out. Even if you got to be broke, you pay your team. It's one thing they can never say I don't do. And there are times where they said, hey, I'm in a bad spot. Can you give me an advance? I don't do it all the time, but I've done it on seldom occasions. For the graphic designer, I've done that double time. Say, hey, you get it. You got it. They always deliver. So why should I ever worry? If you're always on time like a train, why should you ever worry about it coming late? You never do. And a week goes by, I don't hear a word. Now, I have a business to run. That business is run every day. Only after they see that post, I would presume, now they started hitting the action. And I'm saying that is the respect that you have for a business that once when no one else wanted to give you work, I was there. I explained this to my wife earlier. She said, oh, why are you looking for it? And I said, well, this is what's happening. This is going on. And I'm going out there. And I said, when my money was great, when it was long and I could give you advances, I even gave bonuses. A lot of businesses don't do that. Not for sales, but for loyalty, for commitment and work day in out, helping me grow my business. When I got successful, I also shared some of the fruits of that labor with my team. They've gotten advances, they've gotten pay raises, they've gotten bonuses. If you haven't gotten a bonus, then it's not your time yet. You haven't put in enough work. This person's been with me for years, 3 years almost, 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 5. They have different religious holidays. So I acknowledge those holidays and gotten gifts. They got married. I've sent them gifts, things like that to say, hey, it's more than business. I want to make sure that you understand that you have longevity with me. And that's a hard concept to teach to people because we have the I want it now mentality. I have the I need to get it today. And I told this person, you may not get paid top dollar with me, but your dollar, you will get paid for years with me. You can get $500 for this one project, but after that, they're done with you. They don't want you anymore. Or they'll come back in 2-3 months. But I might give you 20 projects in a year. Or I might give you 30 projects in 2 years to do. Or 40 or 50 projects. If I have a higher demand, I'm going to submit to you more projects. If I have more properties, as I sell more properties, I'm going to be feeding you the ups and downs of what I do. But the price has to be that I could afford you for the long haul of this business. Say this business goes until the person's 90 years old. They're 30. If I'm in business for 60 years and now being paid for my children, or their children are being paid for my children, you have generational employment. And again, these are people living in another country. If I become even more successful, I would like for you to develop departments in your own business. So now I can employ your whole department because we have the demand. You have the employees to match my demand. So even my concepts of building business are we're 2 different companies that can be connected if I'm that successful. But again, the thinking is too small because you're biting at the bigger projects, and that's fine. Take them, but do your work. So when a week goes by, I say, you know what? I need someone that's more present for my business. I start looking out, and I told the person, I said, hey, a week has gone by. I haven't heard from you. I said, I have given bonuses when my pay has been great, when I've been able to do it. I've even given you, hey, you've done a lot of projects for me. You've done them in record time. Here's a little extra. Thank you. Because when I needed this done and we were selling, 10 properties a month, you were there. You were working hard. I appreciate hard work. Should be paid. When you go the extra mile for me, you should be rewarded with extra. Not someone who's just doing the job. There's a difference. When you bring me extra back, I'm going to reward you in kind. And I did that even when you made a mistake. I still kept you there. Now that things are a little dry up, there's a little bit of gap between works, but when I do need you to do something, now you got your feet in the sand. Now it takes you longer to get something done. And again, what I need you to get done relates to you being paid. But again, I wonder if the delay is due to a lack of creativity. Now you're telling me that if you have this work to do, you can't get something back to me and it's been over a week. Not only that, you don't communicate with me. And we have an ongoing work relationship. This is a person that works within my organization as a freelance worker. But again, if you're not there and a week goes by and we've already connected with communications, I need to get you replaced, despite our years of our relationship. This is taking advantage of relationship and thinking it's never going to break up. And I am fielding other graphic designers. Do you know why? Because this person has shown me exactly where they think my business is. And the only thing is, I'm being conservative because I'm reserved when things are going this way. I don't overspend. But then I have a decision to make when things do turn around for the better, and I do have more work in this, you come and asking for more money. Why should I pay you more money when you're not doing anything more for me than what you've done before? You're not being overly creative. And if things aren't moving or flying off the shelf, why should I pay you more? But what I'm looking for is a person that has vision to understand long-term growth. Again, 50 Cent said the same thing. I'm willing to invest for the day that that deal does come through. Now, he didn't know $1 billion deal was going to come in it, but he was willing to do the work to get to that point, to get the long-term payout. I was thinking one day, hey, I got a company great enough, whatever else. If I didn't want to do a legacy business, if I didn't have my kids don't look like they're going to qualify for it, how about I sell Ancestrylands? Sell it off. Cash out. My wife and I go and retire. Spend our older years, whatever else. Kids are great. Kids are professional football, but they don't need it. They don't want it. Fine, whatever. Okay. Sell the business. That person I would look to and say, you lost out on a big opportunity. Say I sell the business for 1.2 mil. 200,000 could do great for that person in their lifetime at that point. I think with the translation from US dollars to that, but again, no vision, no investment into something. And that's going to hurt you in the long run. It's going to catch up to you in the long run. The other thing is when I'm meeting new people, new clients, and this is for people who are applying for a job. When you are working because you're good in graphic design, you're not good in my graphic design. Not every business will want or require the same things from you each time you engage with them. One thing I do see that's a problem when I speak to people, and some foreigners, I am talking to you as well, is that the first thing you don't do is ask more questions and listen before you deliver. I had meetings with guys earlier I sent out on LinkedIn, and I kindly told them, hey, I don't think you're the right fit for our organization. And it was simply because I had him on speaker. My wife's listening, is that I'm having a meeting with you and you bring your homeboy in here. I say, okay, let's meet on WhatsApp. Let's talk, have this meeting, talk about my business, what my needs are. And you say, hold on, let's bring another person in. Mistake number one. I don't care if you're Leonardo da Vinci. I don't care if you could paint me the damn Michelangelo for my business. I don't want you. It's called business etiquette. If you were to bring a person in, you should let me know that you are a two-man team, not bring them on when I'm already on the phone with you and say, hold on. And you don't bring the best person on the phone, no less. My wife said, yeah, man, the person was talking over each other. You're in a meeting and I can hear your background noise. You don't mute yourself. You're looking for employment, telling me how well you can do a job, but you don't present well. I don't care what your race is. So I'm already saying, red flag. And as I'm going through describing, hey, what I've done in my business, they never ask me, what's your website? Before we get on conversation, they don't even look up my social media stuff. They're hungry for the job, but they're not really ready for the opportunity. As I try to explain, there is somewhat of a language barrier on many of these conversations. What I see is that everything I say is met with a yes, we can do. And I'm saying, how can you do what you haven't seen? I'm just explaining it to you. And they say, well, we can create your vision. My vision requires you to see something, not say something. So they got the axe. I told them. The first thing is why? Why am I? And I said, we can provide you with, I said, I don't care what you can provide me with. You're not providing me with what I want because you haven't learned what I want. You're telling me what you've done. I don't care what you've done. I want to know, can you do what I want? Because most real estate companies, they have an apartment, they have many rooms that look the same. So they just need to show you one. Land is much different. Every business is not the same. But what I was met with, and I told him, I said, you guys seem very high on promise, low on delivery. That was something me letting them know that, hey, you're talking too much. You need to shut up and listen. I'm hiring you. You're not hiring me. Ask questions and listen. When I called my posting manager and I'm asking him how the business is doing, I'm not talking. I'm asking him a question. I want to listen and understand what is the pulse of my business. One of the questions I asked him, I said, is the business running efficiently for your job, what you're doing? Is the time management running efficient enough? He says, what do you mean? I said, again, I'm going to explain it to him. I said, hey, or is everything running where it requires you the minimum amount of time to do what I need you to do with your life schedule? He said, yes, it is. I've even created workflows to help me run it even more efficiently. I said, great. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help the workflow go more smoothly. That is an exchange between me as the owner and my executive manager, Eric Kennedy. Thank you, Eric. But when I'm recruiting a new person for graphic design, what I see is people not willing to listen. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do it. I'm like, have you ever done an outline for land? Yeah, I have done it. And I said, well, send me something that you've done for land. They say, yeah, sure. Then they send me, and I got sent a construction site, like a brochure on construction. And I said, why don't you say no, but I'm willing to learn? I said that to the person. The second people I interview, I have a couple other interviews for opportunities. And one of the things is that people are scared to say, I've never done that, but I'm willing to learn. I had a conversation with a company yesterday. Now, this is the first time because normally I hire in-house. I don't hire a lateral organization because what happens when you deal with a lateral organization, let's say you have a contractor, but you're a construction company, you hire an outside contractor. The problem is the contractor is telling you kind of what they're an authority in, and it's not really geared towards what you're building. So I'm like, hey, and I told him, I said, listen, I have people they're usually in-house staff. I'm my own business. I'm a private owner. I'm not a broker. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm a private owner. So I sell to people who don't go into banks and apply for credit. They're generally blue collar or white collar working citizens who need no interest and no credit checks in order to make this purchase happen. They're lay people, everyday people who would buy a property from another person. I'm the private owner. The way I display my real estate is not it's not a cookie cutter template. I need someone who's creative, not can create a just a standard copy and paste attitude. That's not what's needed when I'm going to pay you hundreds of dollars to do a job. And as a business, you have to protect your business fiercely, even from someone that you care and love. Because people they're there on the rise, but they're not there when the tide is low. They're not. They've got great ideas and suggestions. They're short on labor, big on promises, and even greater on talk. But when you're applying for a business job, you really need to take time. I would love to have someone come in and say, hey, let me do some investigation. Let me look at what you've got. Let me listen more. Can I have another conversation to fully understand and grasp what you're looking for? And I rarely see that happen. People want to get paid quicker than they want to be paid. And I say that meaning different words, different applications of the word paid. And it's much like I talked about yesterday. Are women willing to invest in a man that doesn't look like a Mercedes today? There's always been opportunity of companies that have grown small that people had an opportunity to invest in, but they did not look like $1 million corporation that they are today. And that's the difference between people who become millionaires and people who actually miss out on opportunity. Missing heirs, right? Missing heirs because they miss out on millions. They miss out on opportunities. A lot of girls could have had Michael B. Jordan. Lori Harvey's different because, Lori Harvey, she already has a man in her life that has stardom and level of celebrity, and that's her father, Steve Harvey. She already has that in her life. But for the regular people, they seem to think that they're on equal footing as a Lori Harvey, and they can always dismiss the Michael B. Jordans of their lives. But again, Michael B. Jordan showed that there were people who they didn't want him in the beginning. Started from the bottom, now he's here. And that's the thing that I'm seeing with people today when they're looking for these jobs. And I simply say no. And when I say no, it's not an acceptance of my no. It says, well, why? What is wrong? And I said, again, I can value with high quality. Okay, you can. But the problem is you're not willing to listen to what I want. You're telling me what you can do, but you haven't listened to what I'm telling you I want you to do. That's the problem. You're engaged in a business. You want a business opportunity. You want to be employed in someone's business, private business. You're a freelance worker. There's no way you're going to bring your previous real estate experience into a new business without learning that things are going to be a little bit different. You need to understand the business practice, the process, and what the owner is asking you to do. And don't say yes when you don't know. That's the one thing I'm leading out. As other business owners, you need to ask questions and see if they're listening, because you're the owner, more than they're talking. And I'm going to help other people out, especially foreign people that are looking for jobs from business owners in the United States to be freelance virtual workers. You should be studying the person that you're going to be asking for a job or money from. Because what's happened is you're going to give me a template that you created from someone else's business, and I don't want that. I want your creativity. Because a business that is going to last year in, year out is going to have to be creative, which is why I now start live streaming. That's my decision as a business owner, to talk about different topics and also incorporate the reason why you should own land in between these podcast conversations. And some people don't think it's great until I start showing dollars for what my efforts have done. And that's their prerogative. That's their way. But when you own a business, the one thing you have to do is protect your business. Foreign and domestic, people who don't work in your business and people outside your business that think they got every little bit of suggestion on how you should run your business, but they don't own one. You have to protect your business. People are either going to help or hurt. But if you're looking for a position, especially within this company, especially what I'm asking for, I'm looking for someone that can understand, learn, and then master what I want done. And very rarely do I see that happen. Oh, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. You have to design something that is my vision. How can you know what that is if you won't even understand what it is that my vision is? You don't even know it. And again, I'm not being sold. I'm not interested in being sold and nor told what you can do. I want to be shown. I send them templates that's done for my previous graphic designer, who's also, hey, I'm sorry. No, if you're sorry, you wouldn't have done it. That's the problem. I tell people all the time, some of my kids, don't say sorry if you plan on doing it again. If you do something once, say sorry. Sorry means, hey, I acknowledge that what I've done is incorrect. I plan on not doing it again. Second sorry is, well, I guess I'm going to continuously make this mistake from the last time. I won't even accept my wife's apology. I say, don't say you're sorry if you plan on doing it again. I tell my kids that. Don't say sorry because you're afraid of punishment. Then you should accept the punishment, because the 7 days that you spent not getting back to me, you should know something's coming. But if you knew that ahead of time, you might have done different. That's the F around and find out. That is what we call the around and find out. The more you around, the more you're going to find out. And now, I'm sorry, I will never ever know, but you did it. And what I do is say, okay, I'm going to let you back on, but your price drops now. Told that to my marketing exec, Eric, about that. I punish people with dollars. I punish them with that. Kids do stuff wrong, I take away their pay. Kids do wrong, I take away their privileges. I even take away hours or minutes off their bedtime. I let them know you staying up late on the weekends is not something that's a given. You have to earn it. My time, you have to earn it with me as your father. I'm not required to spend time playing video games with you. That's something I select to do. But my presence is something that you need to earn. Told that to my wife. Yes, I have busy things to do. When I want to spend time with you, it's to enjoy and release from myself. I don't want to spend that time arguing. I want to spend that time frustrated. I want to spend that time enjoying company in the presence of my family. To alleviate my worries from the world and be in a place where I can be happy and peaceful. And the problem is men are too scared to say it to women or people in their own families or even their children. Why shouldn't you tell your children that when your children are probably going to manipulate you even more because you don't say it? And that's the problem. And I told my wife this earlier. I said, this person forgets that work will run out and I'll still be here. So when you come back, now the price is a little different. Now your price done dropped a little bit. And you've got to be that way in a business in order to survive. I once asked a person who was not black. I said, can you tell me something? I said, why have you succeeded where other brothers haven't? He said, I never met a black person as greedy as I am in business. I learned from that. And it wasn't being greedy in the sense of manipulating. It meant that he cared more about his business than he cared about whether or not people were happy with the way he was doing business, meaning that he was a good businessman. I looked up to him. But his thing was that he wanted the business to run the way he wanted it to run. But he was a good businessman. That was the key. But the problem is he got rid of people that were not the meat. He had to trim the fat, is what we call it. Old school term. And I know that. And that was something that was very important that I've learned. Too many businesses are discounts, hookup. Let me get 5 on it. Let me get this free or whatever else. There are people that you can't give opportunity to. There are people you give chances to, but it needs to come with deadlines, rules, and parameters that, hey, yeah, I'll give you a lower down payment, but I'm going to tack it in on the back end for you. Yeah, I'll give you no money down on this because you're fam, but guess what? You still going to pay the same full price on the back end. Yeah, I'm going to give you this edge or this little help, but you're still going to pay for it in the long run. I'm gonna give you a month off because you family, because you close, but you still gonna pay me for it. I always say something all the time. Even with family, when they do things for me, I tend to want to pay them. I've had that with my in-laws too as well. And I told my wife, she said, "Why do you give money to my in-law, your family?" I said, "Because when I do, they can never say they've done it for me. If you accept the money from me, then you can never say you did it for me, because what you did it, you got paid for it. If you want to do something for me out of love, you won't take the cash." My dad gives me money. He's like, "Hey, here's for the kids," or something like this for groceries. I appreciate that. That's a gesture, something different. But I ask somebody to come fix my car, do this for me, do that for me. I pay them. You can't say you did it for me for free. And it's not to say that way, but people always come telling you to call in debts all the time. And what I look at is saying that when I tell a person this, going back to the graphic designer, is that I say when I drop that pay, the person has to accept the punishment for that crime of what they've done to hurt the business. So they got two choices. They can accept the lower pay, or they can move on and they can find other appointments in life. But what they don't want to do is lose that pay. And I said, why should I pay you and reward your bad behavior? I'm just going to let you come back in, start right back up. You're going to do what you do until the next time that you forget that you've done this before. There's no punishment for coming across this threshold for doing that. This is a business. This is like you showing up for work without a week. Don't call nobody. Don't tell nobody, whatever else. No one in your family called. You're not in the hospital. You're not in any danger. And you just come back and they fired you. You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I was trying to get to work, but I couldn't. Man, if you don't get your mom up out of here, you're fired. Why should you expect that you don't have anyone to report back to if you've been given an assignment to do? There's no timeline, no deadline. Well, now I've got the deadline here. And again, when I do have a conversation with this person, they'll know that, hey, look, now the pay's dropped down for the same work you used to do for a little bit more. Do you know why? Because you are a person that continuously doesn't understand that you are wasting my time. And they'll say, oh, no, I don't want to do it. Well, guess what? Then you're showing me that you didn't care or respect my time in the beginning. And you have to be willing to let people go. Because again, they will tear your business down rather than build it up. And I hope you learned from that lesson today, folks. I mean, it's Tuesday. I guess people ain't really on like that or whatever else. But again, that's a lesson for people, is that you have to protect your brand, man. You got to be careful who you have around you, who you let onto your shows, what they are. You got to know them a little bit better than, man, they're just doing great and they're successful. And I've seen this now, man. You got a lot of people out there that can't really explain to you how to do good business. I'm telling you right now, if you're joining a business, if you're on my LinkedIn and you're sending me that you're looking for graphic designs, when we get on those WhatsApps, because I actually don't use WhatsApp now, I'm learning how to use it. When we get on those conversations, what I've only seen one person do is say, hey, send me the stuff and I'll see if I can create it. And I said, finally, we got a listener. We finally have someone who says, listen, let me show you what I can do. And I can work with a person like that. I told the person, I said, don't say you know if you don't know. I'd rather you be honest with me. Don't try to sell me. Don't sell a salesman. Just tell me the truth. Because if you don't know, hey, I'll work with you, man. I didn't know how to do land, and I didn't know how to do land like now I know how to do land. I didn't have the confidence to talk about land like I do now. That takes experience. I'm not looking for someone that's qualified. I'm looking for someone who looks to learn how to do land my way. Because I'm paying you for it. I don't care what you've done before. Can you do what I'm asking you to do? Because it ain't what you've been doing. That's the key. And again, maybe I'll take this guy. See, right now, I have a point in my business where, hey, it might be a few months before I can get a graphic designer back in here. Okay, but then that's what needs to happen to get the right graphic designer back in the business. Not just taking it all. And yeah, maybe we'll let old boy back, but he's going to keep chomping off his, cutting his nose despite his face. He's doing it to himself. And I'm going to make him pay. And so should you with people like that in the business. Don't fire them. Drop that money on them. Tell them, hey, look, and that's what business should do. Okay, great. We'll keep you on, but we're going to drop you by $10. Have them sign a new agreement. This is your pay going forward for not showing up to work for a week. See if they accept it. They don't. Here's the door. Those are your two choices. Take the lower pay, or here's the door. That's how I do people. Is it wrong? Right? Hey, look, they be paying the same thing if they were showing up to work. You don't, then you get paid less. If not, go find another job. That's how you got to be in business. I go to work, I show up. If I don't, I let them know. Hey, I can't come to work today. I got this going on. Ain't no, I'm going to just tell you later on I'm sorry about it. Okay, good. Show me you're sorry. Show me you're sorry. You're going to have to take a sacrifice. Oh, I don't want to take that. Here's the door. You what you do is you say, then you're going to have to work twice as hard to get back to that number. And you may not get back to there. You might be working for me for another year before you get back to that number. Because they have to learn that you value your business and they should never, ever devalue your business. Cut that pay and see what they do. And if they will show you who they are 9 times out of 10 when you do things to let you know. Just like in reverse, if they didn't show up for a week and I didn't put that graphic design post out there, it would be 2 weeks. And then I'll be doing a podcast. Everybody be saying, why'd you let it go 2 weeks? That's bad. A bad business owner. I've already confirmed with them. You cannot show up to work, check in for 2 weeks, and it's fine. Hey, you going on vacation for 2 weeks? Tell me you're going on vacation for 2 weeks. No problem. But you don't show up for work for 1 week or check in. Guess what? You shouldn't be expecting work when you come back. And if you want work, guess what's going to happen? Hey, what was 100 is now 90 or 75. Oh, I don't. And what did we have when this happened? And again, I'm gonna go back and say this has happened before, and I dropped that pay. I dropped the pay. What is? I don't want to do that. I don't want the pay drop. No, I want to keep it the same. And I said, you've shown me you don't value my business, but you want me to pay you the same. I'm rewarding your bad behavior. Why? It's like a kid getting an F on a test, bring it home. You say, okay, let's go to McDonald's. Excuse me. What are you telling your kid? You get a drink of water. What are you teaching your kid? Let's go out and see Wakanda forever. What are you teaching them? What are you teaching the people in your business? Oh, it's okay. Don't show up for 2 weeks and you're fine. I would say don't fire them. I've learned from other businesses, they fire fast, hire slow, fire fast. That's one of the little, acronym things they always talk about. I'll say I don't fire fast. I drop the pay. When you hit them with the dollars, they should change their behavior. And they don't, keep dropping it. Then you have them working to you for free. And if they don't do good enough work, they might as well walk away. Get them to walk away on their own accord. And that'll start teaching people, because the behavior will change when there are no more opportunities. And if it doesn't, the person has cemented themselves into oblivion. That's how it should work. I'm going to close it out, folks. Period after slavery, before Martin and Malcolm, before Marcus Garvey. The period where obviously blacks were doing much more until it broke down again. And they were required to do more again. And I feel like that's where we are again. We had the civil rights movement, and now things are becoming less again, and more needs to be done. But what's missing is there was no education of the Bass Reeves, the Frederick McKinleys, Lewis Latimers. There's all this missing history that's out there. And there's no education about that missing history. So because that history is missing, we've been sold slavery as a buy-in. That's our down payment. And we live in a house of oppression. And our monthly rent is to keep on talking about oppression and racism. That's the rent we pay on the land of oppression, the real estate that we own as Black society. There's no talk about progression, elevation, anything else. It's talking about ownership, but there's no history of talking about own. It's always from the taking standpoint. And we have an opportunity today to own, to build, and we won't do it. Because again, it's easier to buy into oppression. It's easier to blame and make excuses. And we don't own our image. And like I said, every month the presidents come up here in Black History Month, and it said in the article, they always talk about the unfulfilled promises of previous presidents. Joe Biden's doing the same thing right in front of you. You're hearing about it. And again, another year of empty promises. We got Black Congress, all the bliggity black. And then again, there's no delivery. Another year of unfulfilled promises. Democrat or Republican, I don't really care. Why should I care? I'm not going to care, because it doesn't matter which side they vote on. If it helps a community, it should help not just the party, it should help the community at large. Because I was Black before I voted. You are a Black woman before you voted a party. Your children are not Republican or Democrat. They're just children. They are what their natural ethnicity is before they became voters. When they became voters, now they become targets. And that's the problem. People don't see that. You got about 18 years until the 18th year hits. You are just a Black young man, a Black young woman. You have no political power as far as voting is done. So again, why should party politics matter when the results affect the child? That's proof in the pudding right there. It's only until you're allowed to vote or of the age to vote. Now does political affiliation matter, which means that for the first 18 years of your life, you're being affected by the divisiveness of both parties and the unfulfilled promises of those presidents, that they go before all the older generation and they continuously accept unfulfilled promises president to president. And they're Republican and Democrats in that black Congress. They all sit in the same place. They have lunch and dinner with each other. Their kids probably hang out. They can agree to disagree, but they're not in service for us because what we bought into is that you're Republican, I'm Democrat. But to your children, they're nothing until they become able to vote. How many people have changed parties? So again, are you set in that? Are you a Democrat for life, Republican for life? Or have you changed parties? I've changed parties numerous times. Don't always vote one way or the other. There are times I voted for Republicans. There's times I voted for Democrats. Times I voted for independents. Because again, I know that the outcomes of those will affect my children who are not any party. Something you could learn there. And the last part I'm going to jump to is talking about business. You have to protect your business from foreign and domestic threats. The threats could be within your own household, most likely within your own team. You have to eliminate complacency, and you've got to check in on your business. Your work in your business should be making sure that everything is running efficiently, not delegating it all away for someone else to run and manage. The managers need managing. When things go awry, you've got to press them. And when people are not doing the job, you got to let them know the door is there, or what you accept is going to be less in the form of pay. Do not reward bad behavior from people. Do not reward people producing less for you and telling you they want more. That's what you need to do. Or tell them, here's a door. That's where your opportunity lies, and someone else that you can convince long term, hope they help you out. But you're not going to treat me that way. That's from someone who's invested in your business. And everybody can tell me, oh, this has been failed. If you're a small business, loyalty should matter to you first. You're not a big conglomerate organization or corporation. You can't think that you can afford the same turnover that a big company can. Walmart can afford turnover. They can even reduce staff. Hell, if you see Walmart now, they've got more self-checkout aisles. They've got more us checking ourselves out than they do people watching us. That's the reason there, as a small business owner, you need people who are loyal to your organization and your statement and loyal to doing the work. To my cousin out there that I've had conversation with, you need to let go of people who are not committed to doing the work to get you to being a millionaire. That's my advice for him. Stop trying to take everybody with you. Sometimes the road becomes narrow enough where only 2 feet can get through. And after you walk through, the path disappears. It's for one person only. That's true. And then sometimes there's a waypoint later on where you can get people and bring them along the way. But a lot of time, the pace will be slowed by someone in your own camp. People that are supposed to help you get to the top. People that rely on you paying them. And they're the ones hurting you the worst. And you've got to be willing to let people go or take opportunities away from people that they were once there. It has happened within my own team. And it's not always a punishment. Sometimes it is things not working, and the punishment comes in the lack of opportunity that allows a person to make more money. And there are times where people are doing things that you've got to take away their money because they're not being productive enough. That's the problem with small businesses. You can't think like the Walmarts. You can't always go to the Grant Cardone extreme. You can't go to the Robert F. Smith extreme. Sometimes you got to think small to grow big. But what you need is people who are loyal to your business. And you cannot accept less. or else you won't have a small business. Just ask many of the businesses that closed down. Look in your neighborhoods and see businesses that were there when you were kids that are no longer there. They're not just losing to Walmarts. They're losing because they don't have loyalty within their workforce. They don't have loyalty within their clientele. And again, people are always willing to go for a lower price and get a lower product. So you got to raise a business where your product can be serviced to people who are loyal to your brand. That's what you need a following for. And again, you have to find people who are creative. You cannot have people who are there just doing the clock in and clock out job every day. Your business will never grow. And again, when the employee is getting paid, you've always got to put them in a position to say, okay, what are we doing to advance this? Not everything will always be going good. Sometimes it will dry up. And you got to look to your team members to produce and be creative, unless they're your minimum wage workers. But again, those are the business tips, folks. Folks, today, I hope you've enjoyed on a Tuesday. It's been a little bit of a more education-heavy Tuesday, folks. Not all the comic relief that I would have wanted to have, but again, some days you'll learn more and you'll be smiling less, and other days you'll smile more because you learn more. This podcast is meant to entertain, educate, not promote hate. It's, again, giving you the eyes to wake up. Wake up, people. Wake up and learn. Invest into learning in your life. Stop spending your days watching the dumb content that adds no value to your day. I mean, I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm just saying give yourself time to say, hey, what have I learned today? What have I done to advance myself? What have I learned? Did I listen to Ancestrylands on YouTube today? No, I need to go back and listen. I need to go watch. Go on the playlist and let me go to the live stream playlist. All the playlists are there. He's kicking game. Let me go watch him. Let me go learn. Let me share this. Let me like this. Let me comment on this video and talk about some things that I've learned. That's what we got to do, folks. Ancestrylands.com. Folks, I always forget. We would love your donations. $Ancestrylands on Cash App. Ancestrylands on Venmo. We appreciate the donations. Donations actually go to help supporting the show and reinvestment back into the podcast segment, folks. To bring you this information, it's Tuesday, February 28th. Like I said, I've always tried to give you what's on my mind during that time, not regurgitated content, folks. Things you can learn from. Don't forget, folks, if you don't get biscuits in your Popeye's meal, please don't drive through the whole building so no one else can get Popeyes. Please. There are always more biscuits. You can just go back in and ask for the biscuits you're owed. People are they're so charged up right now. Please get the biscuits. And Popeyes, please don't miss people's biscuits. Check the bag more than once. Lord have mercy, you got people driving into the whole building, tearing up the store. The whole building she drove through with an SUV because she didn't get her biscuits. You're supposed to make sure the biscuits are in there. That woman hungry. Lord have mercy. Any which way, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestrylands. I got to go get my kids off the bus, folks. Show up in your kids' lives, folks. Fathers, mothers, get the fathers in their lives. Stop being a wall of division between the fathers. Accept them. Bring the fathers in the lives. If you love your kids, demand the father be there. Take care, folks. I hope you've been educated, entertained, and enlightened. I'm your host, Philip Davis. I just had a momentary pause there because we got to start coming together, folks. We do. We got to start coming together. I hope you learned much. I hope you've been entertained. Thank you so much for joining me. If you watched me this whole time, thank you so much for staying on to the show. I appreciate your continued support. Thank you again and have a wonderful day. Take care, folks.